Hello viewers, this is Professor Srinivas Reddy, a retired professor of public administration, Kakti University. I welcome you to this video presentation on Unit 7 entitled Performance Appraisal and Competency Mapping for BA Semester 5, Course 5, falling in Block 3, which is on human resource development. Within the broad rubric of human resource development, performance appraisal and competency mapping are two very important activities or practices that have immense potential to improve the efficiency of administration. This lecture is about the scope, meaning, importance and the different aspects of performance appraisal, methods of performance appraisal and competency mapping, as well as the problems there and the advantages accruing from them. As I said, performance appraisal and competency mapping are have to be located in the overall context of human resource management. You might be remembering that there is what is known as a concept of HR cycle, human resource cycle. The human resource cycle tries to figure out all the different activities that are there in human resource management in the form of a cycle, and the cycle comprises of different activities 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and it flows back to the first and all that, it goes on like that. The HR cycle, as I said, is the complete range of activities that are performed by human resource managers or the human resource management department, if there is such a department in an organization. They are acquiring human resources through recruitment and selection, taking people into the organization. The second is onboarding, means introducing them to the organization, giving some initial training. Number 3, developing them by giving them training, so that they become more useful to the organization by giving certain knowledge, components of knowledge, skills, attitudes that would make an employee a better employee. So, after training, there is what is known as maintenance of employees. This is next activity in the HR cycle, paying salaries and all that to help employees to work. And the next important activity which is relevant for us is performance appraisal. Not enough if you appoint employees, train them, onboard them, give them salaries and all that. You should also know how well they are performing. Government organizations or any organization for that matter needs to be efficient and it should be run economically. These are two of the important principles of the goals of any administrative organization, be it public or private. So, in this, the employees who are appointed need to be appraised also. Appraisal is nothing but knowing, I think let me define appraisal, performance appraisal is judging the relative worth of an employee to the organization. So, this is one aspect of performance appraisal, whether the employee is worthy or worthless, or sometimes the fellow may be even more worthy than what he is paid for. Sometimes he is not as worthy as he should be, or sometimes there is scope for making the person more worthy through some training intervention. So, these are all the purposes for which we have to assess the worthiness of an individual. So, the first point in performance appraisal is how worthy is the individual, number 1, to the organization. Now, sometimes as a result of performance appraisal, you may find that somebody is in X department instead of Y department, where he can in Y department he can perform more. So, whether he is located in the proper place, that also will come as a result of performance appraisal. So, worthiness of the individual to the organization over a period of time. So, performance appraisal is not episodic, you go and just see what he is doing. You might get to know a small aspect of work, but it has a time period also. Normally in government, performance appraisal is done over a period of 1 year. So, therefore, worthiness of individual first to the organization, number 2, number 3 over a period of time. I think this is what is known as appraisal cycle. The appraisal cycle can be 1 year, it can be 1 month, or it can be half year. And in companies, under what is known as performance management, there is what is known as concurrent appraisal. There are some computer programs which will reveal whether the fellow is correctly going on the work or not immediately in real time. So, this is what is happening in the private sector. Might happen or may not happen, maybe it is happening in some industrial applications of the government public sector undertakings also. So, the third component of performance appraisal is the time, over what period of time. And fourth component is performance appraisal is done by somebody who is familiar with the job of the person being appraised, which means the appraiser should have superior knowledge or proper knowledge about what the person being appraised, appraisee, appraiser. Appraisee is the employee, appraiser is the person, an officer who is doing that. So, there is this fourth element, and fifth element is the objectives. So, the objectives for which the person is appointed. He is a electrician, he is a plumber, he is a technician, he is a teacher, he is a doctor, she is a nurse, etc., etc. So, in performance appraisal, worth of the individual to the organization over a period of time by somebody who is familiar with the work and keeping in view the goals. This is the full complement of performance appraisal. Getting into some more aspects of it, performance appraisal has been there in China, for instance, in 3rd or 4th century BC itself. The Chinese empires used to have imperial rater. So, the emperor appointed somebody to rate the performance of the royal servants. That it goes as far back as almost the ancient period. And another important milestone, historically speaking, is Taylor. Taylor also introduced lots of concepts of employee appraisal. But today, employee appraisal or performance appraisal is there in a very effective way, largely in private organizations and somewhat in public organizations. And therefore, there is a imperative need to do this more in the public sector organizations or government organizations and to tone up the quality of performance appraisal here. Historically, we were talking about historical aspects. Originally, it was known as merit rating and performance review. So, later in the third phase, people started using the word performance appraisal. So, from merit rating, so just seeing the merit, whether he is merited or demerited, that was the only point of thing. So, therefore, you are just judging the person just saying capable or incapable, good performer, bad performance. But the next step was performance review. So, you are not only just looking at the individual, but you are looking at the job done by the person, activities done by the person. That is the next phase in the evolution of performance appraisal. So, then the third time there is what is known as performance appraisal, which has come. Performance appraisal is a more scientific one, more focused on the work of the employee, actual job done by the employee. And the next stage in the evolution of performance appraisal was the performance management. Performance management is a higher method of checking the performance of employees, whether government employees or private employees. And performance management is nothing but it is appraising as well as improving the performance. So, therefore, performance management is performance appraisal plus performance improvement. So, as a kind of equation we can say performance management is equal to performance appraisal plus performance improvement. There was a lot of criticism about performance appraisal, that when you do it after 1 year, what happens is that the fellow had committed hundreds of mistakes and those mistakes went on repeating over the whole year, and at the end of the year you are saying that he was wrong and all that. So, this thinking came, and therefore, people started looking into there is what is known as real time constant. As the person is doing, there is monitoring of the job, and then if there is any improvement needed, immediately suggestions were given. So, this is performance management. And the last stage in the evolution of performance appraisal is middle stage, merit rating first, second performance review, middle performance appraisal. The fourth point is performance management, the last point is competency mapping. Now, competency mapping says the focus of competency mapping is on the output of the employee. Performance appraisal is mostly on the input of the employees. So, the research in organizational management has proved that sometimes you take highly capable people, highly qualified people, highly skilled people, you make them to work. And this is mostly when we select people, we are selecting on the basis of their maybe the knowledge, skills, attitudes, aptitude, all that is fine. But therefore, what you are doing by doing all this is you are making sure that the input is a good quality one. But performance competency mapping people say that sometimes there are surprises. The fellow who is not a great communicator, greatly knowledgeable, he ends up as a better performance than a person with great knowledge. So, competency mapping tries to focus on the deliverables. Competency mapping has end in sight rather than means in sight. So, this is the concept of competency mapping. So, therefore, let me say that performance appraisal and competency mapping are different stages in the same process. Competency mapping is the latest thinking in HRM, which tries to map out which are the real qualities that make a difference in performance. And research has some consultancy firms have proved that there are many qualities that surface as a result of competency mapping, which were hitherto ignored and people did not understand them. Now, going forward, we have to also understand what is actually performance. Now, performance is a thing that depends on several factors. There is a figure which says performance is ability multiplied by motivation multiplied by organizational support multiplied by environmental support. So, I am getting 4 things into this. Performance depends on an employee's ability, isn't it? There are people who are able, very able, some people are disabled, unable. So, ability is very important, but performance just does not depend on your ability. The second factor influencing performance is the motivation. A person with high competence, high ability may have very poor motivation. Motivation is known as the force that drives an inactive person into active person. A force that makes an active person even more active, vigorous. And motivation is a force that makes a person to be active, sustain in that activity. Now, some of us we have ability, but we do not feel like working. By sometimes we say that I am bored, yeah, I am bored. You see, you do not have the motivation to continue that. So, therefore, ability should be there. Number 2, there should be motivation. The third factor that determines performance is organizational support. Now, there are many competent people who do not get the support from the higher ups. Organizational support is support from bosses. So, if the support is proper, if there is what is known as reinforcement, if a boss says that, hey, excellent man, you are doing a wonderful job, the fellow becomes even more efficient. So, this is what is patting on the back of a good worker and discouraging somebody who is doing bad things. So, this is what is known as organizational support. And finally, environment also is important. So, do we have the right kind of work environment? Say for example, your organization is located close to a railway yard where lot of activity comes throughout the day. So, you cannot concentrate on that. So, the environment may be physical environment, social environment, cultural environment. So, this is a composite of all these things. So, performance, anybody who wants to appraise the performance of employees has to test the ability of the person. He has to also measure the motivation. He has to look at the organizational support and also the overall environment in which it is done. Now, what is the purpose of performance appraisal or competency mapping? So, there are many purposes it serves. It serves as a feedback. Even employees will get to know whether they are on the right track or not, whether they are doing things rightly or not, and it is a good feedback. We do not know our own performance, it may be excellent, it may not be excellent. So, that gives you somewhere you may be wrong, somewhere you may be right, unconsciously right. So, all these things will come, and there are several employment decisions like whether to promote that fellow to the next higher position, to give a promotion or not, whether to demote him, whether to remove him, whether to give him hike or not to give him hike, or whether to give him an important responsibility or not. All such decisions will be facilitated by performance appraisal. One more thing is training needs assessment, TNA we call. While appraising the performance, you may discover that there are certain things in which the employee needs further improvement. So, training needs assessment also becomes possible, and performance appraisal is also important to take disciplinary action. Sometimes, if an employee is dismissed, an employee is demoted, an employee is not given a promotion which is due or is not given an increment, the fellow can go to court of law. Courts will ask, how did you, on what basis you took this action. So, to prove also performance appraisal is needed. There are many cases where an employee gets a benefit, there is no basis for the employer to show, the government to show that this exercise. So, therefore, legal purposes also. Now, we come to what are the methods of performance appraisal. There are both traditional methods and modern methods of performance appraisal. The traditional methods include confidential report, particularly in the government. Confidential report is a system where the boss will write something in he prepares a report about the employee, name of the employee, grade, scale and all that. So many things he writes, and it is very confidential. You see, the fellow keeps it in closed cover. So, this was challenged. So, this is a traditional method, but challenged, but government is now moving to other methods. So, other methods of performance appraisal, as I told, traditional methods are state ranking. So, some organizations do that, there are 100 people, they give rank to 1 to 99 or 100. So, that indicates number 1 is the best performer, 100 is a poor performer. This is one method. Paired comparison. You means you take one average worker as the measurement, as a measuring stick, and with him you compare. X is the employee with whom you are comparing, A is superior to X, B is inferior to X. This is what is known as paired comparison, two people you are comparing. The third traditional method is the critical incident method. Under this method, an employee's performance is assessed on the basis of questions like employee is asked, now the question that is asked is you tell me when did you get the best result in your job, what is the high watermark of your job, where your performance was excellent or where your performance was a zero, useless performance. Come on, tell me. And based on that, they ask questions, how he got that high performance or how he got low performance. Based on that, they judge about the competence of employee. This is a critical incident method. There is graphic rating scale. It is a scale where an employee name is mentioned. There are 5 point or 10 points on which different qualities, maybe 5 qualities are assessed, each quality 1 to 5 is given. This is another checklist method. Now, checklist is good qualities, bad qualities are listed on a sheet, and whether this X employee has how many good qualities, how many bad qualities, this is checklist system. These are all old systems of performance appraisal, but the latest systems of performance appraisal known as modern systems are 360-degree appraisal, 1, management by objectives, assessment center. These are the 3 important modern methods of performance appraisal. Under 360-degree appraisal, the appraisal is not done by only boss. An employee's performance is appraised by his boss, number 1, number 2 is subordinates, number 3 is colleagues, number 4 himself also. So, 360-degree means somebody sitting on your head, somebody down you, somebody on this side, somebody from cross. So, from all angles your performance should be judged. This is what is known as 360-degree appraisal, which is catching up. So, this is a more reliable method. An employee has to be judged, say for example, somebody is working as deputy collector. So, deputy collector is working under collector. Deputy collector has one Tahsildar under him. So, his real performance will be sum total of what his boss feels, what he himself says, what his subordinate says, what his colleagues say. So, from all sides if you assess, the appraisal or assessment of the employee will be better. This is the concept of 360-degree feedback. Next is MBO, management by objectives. Management by objectives is a method of setting goals for employees. It is a joint setting of goals. Under this, what happens? Employees are involved in deciding on what basis his performance or her performance should be measured. So, it is written down and then measurement is done, whether the fellow is doing properly or not, whether he is able to conform to the goals or not. This is a democratic method. A subordinate also has a scope to have some input into the performance measurement. This is another modern method. One more method is assessment centers. Assessment center is a very rare thing, and it's considered to be the most foolproof method of appraising the performance of employees. Under this, it is 360-degree appraisal plus it is using all methods of appraisal. So, assessment center is not exactly a place where assessment is done, but it is the name of a technique where boss appraisal, subordinate appraisal, self appraisal, colleague appraisal plus appraisal through traditional methods, modern methods, and as a result of all that, what comes out is the real performance of the employee. This is supposed to be the foolproof, and friends, let us just wrap up. We have had a discussion on performance appraisal and competency mapping. Performance appraisal and competency mapping have a very important place in human resource management to tone up the employee's ability performance and also to reach the organization's goals, to improve the abilities of the employees and all that. There are traditional methods and modern methods, and an employee need to be appraised properly, and the world is now moving towards performance management and competency mapping. And in government organization, these are two things which are seriously largely missing. And if we can add to performance appraisal, performance management and competency mapping, the ability, the efficiency or the effectiveness of the government employees is bound to be higher and higher. So, with these words, let me conclude this lecture on performance appraisal and competence mapping. We in this discussion, we can also talk about the problems in performance appraisal. There are quite a few problems in performance appraisal, and these are problems which will bog down, which will dilute the efficiency of performance appraisal. The first thing is the various biases, partialities, favoritism, nepotism. So, these are all things. In government, these things happen. An employee is given, sometimes given promotion, though he is not deserving, because of certain compulsions, or maybe sometimes the political pressures. Some of these problems are also there. So, these things limit the effectiveness of performance appraisal. So, the problems also include our biases. Biases will not see the performance as it is. Somebody's performance is poor. Since I am a biased person, say for example, I am from a particular caste background, I am from a particular religious background, I tend to rate the performance of my co-religionists or co-caste people as superior to other people. So, this bias is there, and other biases are first impression bias. So, sometimes we see somebody, and when you interview him or when you appoint him, the fellow comes with full preparation and gives a nice impression, and that impression should not all the time linger with you. So, some of us suffer. There is also a bias of recency effect. So, all such biases reduce the correctness of the performance appraisal. One more thing that needs a little more elaboration is the types of competencies. Now, the competencies are technical as well as behavioral and leadership. There are three types of competencies. Employee should have technical competencies. Technical competencies are related to the job as such. There should be behavioral competencies also. So, the fellow should have a focused behavior. He should be ethically upright and all that. So, these are behavioral competencies. The third type of competencies are leadership competencies. So, leadership is necessary for almost all the employees, because no employee in any government organization always remains at the bottom. The moment he goes up, he is supervising somebody's work, and therefore, this is also needed. So, therefore, we have to focus on all types of competencies. We should focus on technical, behavioral and leadership competencies, and in performance appraisal also you should focus on all these three, so that performance appraisal becomes comprehensive and effective. One more point that needs little elaboration is that performance appraisal and competency mapping are very effectively used in private sector organizations, and to some extent in public sector organizations, particularly in the industrial activities, industrial organizations. But their application is not found to the level that is needed in the normal civil service jobs and all that. So, therefore, there is need for heightened focus on performance appraisal of the government employees, and this performance appraisal should be as far as possible evidence based. Sometimes you may appraise and give a decision, promote him or sack him and all that, but what is very important is everything should be recorded. Unless you have a proper record, your appraisal, if it is adverse, is not going to stand the scrutiny of the courts, stand the legal scrutiny. Therefore, attention should be focused on this aspect too.